Hey everybody, Gary here with Guitar Tricks, and in this video I'm going to share with you 3 pretty simple rock riffs that exemplify 3 essential common rock techniques, which are palm muting, octaves, and power chords. So I'm going to go over some of the subtleties of how I played those riffs, and then hopefully you could take these techniques and create your own awesome rock riffs, just like I did for this video. Whether or not they're awesome, that's subjective, but I did have fun creating them. All right, before we get into the lesson, please go ahead and click subscribe so that you get all of the latest and greatest content from Guitar Tricks. And if you want to be notified of any new lesson, also tap that bell and let us know in the comments any lessons that you'd like to see on the channel in the future. That's where we're always looking to get new ideas. All right, let's get into it. So this first riff, the main technique here is this palm muting. So what you're going to do is put your palm right where the bridge meets the string. So right where the saddle meets the string, that's where you want to put your palm. And what I mean by palm is really the karate chop area of your hand. So it's more like side hand muting than palm muting. So you put that flesh right there. And what it does, if you have the sweet spot, it allows for you to hear the actual note, but it doesn't sustain. The skin kills the note from sustaining, meaning ringing out. So you get this kind of thud, right? And with distortion, it's iconic, right? It sounds really heavy. And now if I lift my palm, right? So by mixing together the palm and the note ringing out, you can create cool rhythms like right, so I'm going da 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 da, but you're hearing goo goo da goo goo da goo da goo goo da goo goo. Very rhythmic, almost like a drummer with a kick and a snare. So you want to practice that just on a single note, the low E string obviously sounding the best. And a lot of heavy music, you know, will tune the guitar down. They'll put heavier strings, go drop D, drop C. You know, it gets real low and chunky. But even in just regular standard tuning, it sounds cool. So what I did is I went. So what I'm doing is I'm using the E minor scale. So the first thing is open, open on the E string, then second fret on the A. And basically everything on the E string I'm palm muting and everything on the A string I'm not. So, and then, so it's open, open, 2, open, 3, 2 on the A string. So being I'm only playing the open E string on the E string, I'm just going to call that E. And then fret numbers are all going to be on the A. So the first thing we do is go E, E2, E, E2, and all the E's are open. So open, E, 2 on the A. Then we go E, 3, 2, and that's a pull off. Now you might be hearing this, which would mean that your karate chop is too far in. So you want to find the sweet spot, or you're hearing this, which means your karate chop is behind the bridge. So you want to experiment with finding that sweet spot. So E, E2, E3, 2. E, E2, E3, 2, E5, E3, E2, E, then 3, 2, but now I'm going to go third fret on the E string. I lied. That's the only time I hit a fret on the E string. So E, E2, E3, 2, E5, E3, E2, E3, 2, 3 on the E string, and that's the whole thing. And then I just ended with an E power chord, which is open E and then second fret on the A and the D. And then you're going to try to mute out the G string because we don't want that note. We just want Now a riff like this, you could go as fast as you want. Or as slow as you want. Right? Gradually try to build up the speed. Then the second riff, I started with an E on the A string, and with my pinky played an E on the G string. So that's 7th fret on the A and 9th fret on the G. And now the trick here is to be able to strum all 6 strings, but only hear the 2 E's. So the way you're going to do that is you're going to angle your index finger so that the tip of it is touching the low E string, muting that out, and then the flesh of it is basically muting out all these 4 strings. So right now you're only going to hear one note when I go like this. You know, you're hearing a little bit of noise from the other strings, but none of the other notes are ringing out. Now once you get that, then you can just place your pinky on the other E, and the pinky could also help mute the string right underneath it, the B string. So this is the core of this technique with octaves. The formula for an octave is take a note on the A string, go over 2 frets, down 2 strings, and that formula holds true from a note on the E string, a note on the A string, but on the D string you got to go over 3 down 2 because the B string tuning throws things off. And then when we go to the G string, also over 3 down 2. So if I was going to just do all the octaves on the E, A, D, G string with a 7th fret root note, it would be like this. Now when I get to the higher strings, I sometimes use my middle finger to mute the low strings. So it's free-flowing and kind of rockish as it is. There's these subtleties going on that allow you to have the freedom in the right hand without making all sorts of bad noises, right? So I can go strum freely and not have to worry about it. But getting back to our riff, which is an A string and G string octave, I just went up the minor pentatonic scale. Like that. So fret-wise, if we first do it with one finger, it's going to be 7, 7, 7, 7, 10, 12, and then 7, 7, 5, 5, 5, 5. So it's like... Now when I add the octave... And you could strum it however you want. You know, you could do all down strums. You can add rhythms. Right? So it's just a way to glorify a single note. Instead of just playing a single note, you're playing the same note 1 octave higher. So it will always work. You could always fatten up a riff by playing it in octaves. And even in the jazz world, people do this a lot. There's a player named Wes Montgomery that really pioneered playing solos using octaves. So check him out, even if you're into rock and metal. The last riff that I did was a simple power chord riff, and I just played a classic chord progression, maybe reminiscent of like pop punk or 90s grunge, right? So I went from an E to a B, to a C sharp, to an A. And it's all about here with the power chord being able to mix in these mutes. So again, this technique is a lot about only letting 3 notes ring out and muting the others. So I played a 3-note power chord. That's what I'm going to teach you right here. 3-note power chord is root 5th octave. So we start on the E on the 7th fret of the A string. Then we go 9th fret of the D string. That's the 5th of the chord. and then we go 9th fret of the G string. That's the octave. Power chords are neither major or minor. The note that makes the major or minor is the third, but they don't have a third. So again, they're kind of like a glorified single note. Just sounds like a really fat single note in a way. So we have these 3 notes. And now I'm using my index finger to mute the E and the B string, just resting over them very lightly. Feather light is all you need. And then I use the tip of my index finger to mute out the low E string. So you want to test this out. You want to go. Make sure they're muted, and then once you have them muted, slide it around. Right? Now when I go to the next chord, which is just moving the whole hand up 1 string, or we should say down 1 string, but closer to your nose, it's the same concept. But now my index finger is muting these 3 strings, right? So again, you want to really listen, make sure you're muting out those other strings, test it out. Then I go up 2 frets to frets 9 and 11, and then all the way down to frets 5 and 7. So when I put that together without any particular rhythm, but now the rhythm I'm using, classic kind of da 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 ga da da ga da da ga da ga da da, right? You want to have a concept of the rhythm. So even see if you can hum it. Here's my rhythm. Da 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 ga da 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 ga da 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 ga da da ga da da ga da ga. And then I just go. Just exactly what I'm humming. Da 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 ga da 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 da. But I'm adding in a little bit of the muting. So to do the muting, just lightly lift your fingers so that they just rest on the strings, but don't press down. And then you get everything muted out. So right, you could literally do it between every strum. You know, like, or experiment, go. And then you just mix them together freely. And that's all there is to it. As far as my right hand, constant up and down, no deviation. So you don't want to do the robot like this. Right? You'll get all hung up. You'll get all hung up. You want to keep the constant down up and just sometimes skip the strings, sometimes don't. Sometimes hit them on the way down, sometimes hit them on the way up. But constant down up. All right, everybody. So that's my 3 rock riffs of today. I had fun jamming out on them. 3 essential techniques: palm muting, octaves, power chords, and the muting, right? So the one thing that's in common to all of this is just control over which strings are ringing out. Every riff that I showed you had some element of muting going on. Remember, with the strums, constant down-up motion. And that's about it. If you want to learn more about playing guitar, head over to guitartricks.com. There's sequential courses on the fundamental, blues, rock, country. There's a library of song lessons spanning the decades with multi-video lessons, downloadable tab, jam tracks. Happy playing, and I'll see you in the next lesson.